Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Apologize for running about 10 minutes late. I am taking a lunch break, and before lunch, when you work in IT operations, cybersecurity, sometimes you get calls right before you plan on taking a break or going on leave or something of that nature, which comes as a priority, right? Career comes first in this scenario. Want to thank you for joining us today. My name is Jesse J, aka the Cosmic Cowboy. I am studying for my CISA Plus, and I thought I'd bring you along for the ride. This is a community-driven study session with the goal of helping you pass your certs on the first time using top-tier industry resources in a community-driven environment, so you can learn at your pace and not pay the bukus of bucks that people want you to. Let's kick things off. I want to get started by thanking our session sponsor, the Daily Cyber Threat Brief. It's your morning, it's your threat brief. It's live, it's daily, it's practical. It gives you hands-on insights that you can take with you into the boardroom, into a job interview. It's built for analysts, threat hunters, CISOs, or maybe you're just trying to break into the industry. Make sure you check out the Daily Cyber Threat Brief. Go to YouTube or check out the link as it is in the comments, and it will give you all the information you need to stay informed, take it into the workplace. Our question of the day: which of the following is a valid logging best practice? A, organizations should always use the lowest logging level. B, logs should only be transported via MQTTS. C, organizations should always use the highest logging level. Or finally, D, logs should be protected from changes. What do we think? Which of the following is a logging best practice? Well, organizations should always use, whenever I see always and never, well, maybe sometimes not never, but whenever I see always, things in life usually aren't always, and they're usually not never. Aren't never. Use the lowest logging level, well, then you can miss crucial information. Logs should only be transported via MQTTS. I don't think that's necessarily the best practice. Organizations should always use the highest logging level, not necessarily, because then you're going to get a lot of junk, maybe some maybe some false positives, just a lot of clutter, things that might be pertinent. Or logs should be protected from changes. This is true. We don't want our logs to be mutable, right? You want our logs to be immutable. They can't be changed or compromised. Right? Because if the trail of tears, or the trail of evidence has been changed, log records should be immutable so they can provide accurate and reliable record of what they actually occurred. Protecting log records from changes is an important part of maintaining their integrity. There we go. Move into some more questions. Let's jump into water. And when can you share the slides? I got to build out some more slides. Good to see you, Zara. All right. Looks like we finished 1.1, 1.2, and we are smack dab a little bit over halfway in 1.3. Let's jump back in. We're going to do some review, and then we'll get into some questions. A security analyst is writing a script to automate security operations. However, the analyst is confused about which data format to use for the script, JSON or XML. Which data format should the analyst use for the script? The correct answer was JSON, and we as a class thought it was XML. What you need to know: JSON, or JavaScript Object Notation, is the preferred data format for scripting and automation tasks in security operations. JSON is lightweight, easy to parse, and widely supported. It is commonly used for exchanging data between web applications and provides better performance and flexibility compared to XML. Gotcha. XML is relatively heavier than JSON, which could impact the script's performance. Additionally, XML requires more overhead and is more difficult to parse than JSON, making it less suited for automation tasks. And then I think text and CSV are pretty straightforward. Cool. Here we go. A cybersecurity analyst for a small company ensures the company's email security by configuring SPF and DKIM. The analyst needs to explain to other employees how SPF and DKIM work together. Which of the following statements correctly explains the role of SPF and DKIM in securing email communications? All right, so you read the question once, think about it. What's it asking us? It's asking us which of the following statements correctly explain the role of SPF and DKIM together in securing email communications. Is it, and then we get two best options. SPF and DKIM work together to scan for malware. SPF verifies the source IP address of incoming messages, while DKIM verifies the message content. Is it SPF verifies the message content while DKIM verifies the source IP address of incoming messages? Or is it SPF and DKIM work together to prevent email spoofing and ensure message authenticity? Well, we know that's true, so that's one of our options. Sender policy. I'm gonna go with B and D. Go with what Zara said in chat. Hey, Tech Ricky, our fearless Friday co-host. What's going on, brother? Also going with B and D. I'm gonna say I'm sure. Let's send it. Correct. Moving on to the next question. The system administrator of a large organization notices abnormal amount. The system administrator, of a large organization notices abnormal account activity and a high volume of outbound traffic to a suspicious IP address from a client machine. Which of the following best describes the abnormal account activity in this scenario? The AAA, abnormal account activity in this scenario. The weak of use passwords and poor authentication mechanisms. User account behaviors such as logging in at unusual times from unusual locations. Is it the use of administrator level accounts? Or is it D, a user accessing multiple resources in a short period of time? We reviewed this question. This is a question from Tech Ricky and I's Slay Cert Plus that was on Friday. If you missed that one, check it out. The abnormal account activity and high volume of outbound traffic to a suspicious IP address. That unusual user account behavior, such as logging in at unusual times or from unusual locations, is the answer they want us to really hammer home. The suspicious IP address correlates with the unusual locations. The unusual user account behavior could be the logging in at unusual times. So we can correlate those. A security analyst at a large financial institution monitors the network for any suspicious activity and finds a log file that appears to have been tampered with. Using the strings command in Python, what will the analyst be able to extract? A, only binary data. B, both strings and binary data. C, only numerical data. Or D, only strings that are visible to the user. This is a review question from Tech Ricky and I. The correct answer is both strings and binary data. Let's move on to the next question. A network engineer is gathering requirements from a security operations center analyst, a SOC analyst. Which of the following requirements might lead the engineer to suggest developing a honeypot? The organization needs to regularly develop new indicators of compromise and indicators of attacks based on the attacks they're experiencing. The organization needs to minimize human interaction through orchestration. Analysts need the ability to code in XML, or network defenders need the ability to observe attacks on the network. That's correct. We get two options. Let's go back to this first one. The organization needs to regularly develop new IOCs? That doesn't make any. That first answer just doesn't read correctly. And the organization needs to minimize human interaction through orchestration. That is also true. So I'm going to go with B and D. Anybody else have any other ideas? Yeah, I'm going to send it. B and D. Oh, we're wrong. Okay. Then it's going to be A and D. And I'm reading this first answer incorrectly. An analyst is reviewing alerts in the Security Information and Events Manager. Which of the following might lead them to suspect there has been malicious activity? A, data enrichment. B, active defense. C, APIs. Or D, a reverse shell. So we're looking at our SIM and we see some information about data enrichment. Well, that wouldn't lead me to believe there's any malicious activity. Active defenses are a positive, right? Those wouldn't lead me to believe there's any malicious activity. API in and of itself, it's just a function. Application programming interface, right? So we know that's not it. But a reverse shell, if I saw a reverse shell in my logs somewhere, I would be concerned. I'm going to go with D. Correct. An analyst identifies a script on a compromised workstation. The analyst determines the author has used meaningful open and closing tags to identify data types. Which scripting language is the analyst examining? Is it A, PowerShell, B, HTML, C, OSINT, or D, XML? An analyst identifies a script on a compromised workstation. We see that it has meaningful opening and closing tags to identify data types. What scripting language is the analyst examining? I believe the correct answer here is XML. OSINT is open source intelligence, gathering information from passive and public resources or publicly available materials. HTML or hypertext markup language doesn't do this, and neither does PowerShell. XML is the correct answer here. Here's a review question for us. A security analyst is scripting a process to collect log data from multiple sources on the network. We need to choose between using either JSON or XML as the format for the script. In this scenario, why would the scenario analyst choose JSON instead of XML for the scripting process? We just read about this. Is it because XML is outdated and no longer supported? No, that's not secure. That's not necessarily true. Is it because JSON is more secure than XML? I don't think that's necessarily true. Is it because JSON is easier to read and write than XML? I don't think that's necessarily true. Does JSON allow for faster processing of large data sets? That it does do, because remember in our previous question, we were talking about how JSON is relatively lighter than XML. Lighter meaning it's not as resource hungry, doesn't take as long. We are sure we are correct on that one. A security analyst working for a large financial institution is implementing SPF and DKIM to improve email security for the company. The analyst company has decided to implement SPF and DKIM to improve email security. Which of the following statements best describes SPF? SPF is a protocol used to encrypt email messages in transit. That is not true. Is it B, SPF is a cryptographic protocol that ensures message confidentiality? That is not true. Is FPF an authentication method that detects forged sender addresses in emails? That is true. And is SPF a protocol used to control access to network resources? That is 100% not true. The only correct answer here is C, as in cat. Correct. Time to review. Yep, this is the one about the honeypot. We kind of knew after we saw that one that they were what they were looking for. Let's look at the learn. I guess in my opinion, when I say that we need to regularly develop new indicators of compromise, I guess we do need to develop them. We need to find them and make sure they're there. So I understand where they got that question. Here we go. Here's our review. A network engineer is gathering the requirements from a SOC analyst. Which of the following requirements may lead the engineer to suggest deploying a honeypot? Well, the organization needs to regularly develop new IOCs and IOAs based on the attacks they are experiencing, and we need to be able to observe. Network defenders need the ability to observe attacks live on the network. Correct. We learned. Thank you, CompTIA. Hey, Pirate Kitty, good to see you again this morning. A security analyst notices abnormal account activity in the company's system. Someone accessed the system with the CEO's credentials at 2 a.m. from a location 500 miles away from the CEO's usual location. The analyst tracks the IP address, GPS address, and device that accessed the system. Which security operation technique did the analyst use to determine the location and device of the user who accessed the system? Well, alert triage is just this process of taking something and figuring out how do we prioritize severity and what needs our attention first. Triage. Was it through threat hunting? No. Was it through log analysis? Maybe. More than anything, we put this together through digital forensics. This is a review question. Boom. A security analyst is writing a script to automate security operations. However, the analyst is confused about which data format to use for the script, JSON or XML. Which data format should the analyst use for the script? Not CSV, not text, JSON. For automation and security operations, remember that JSON is simple to parse, widely accepted, and is relatively lighter to use, meaning it uses less resources, freeing up resources to do other things. A network engineer is gathering requirements from a SOC analyst. Which of the following requirements might lead the engineer to suggest developing a honeypot? Because we need to develop new IOCs and IOAs, and we need to be able to see into the network. Sweet, fam. We have officially crushed domain section 1.3 of domain 1. As you can see, it took us a little bit to get rolling. We had a hot streak here for a minute. This is a pretty good streak here. So really, as a class, we only missed these first 5, and then we slated after that. So good job, team. This is a super power session. I'll be back tomorrow, maybe with Ricky, but probably by myself. And then I will be gone this weekend on a family trip celebrating anniversary time, 7 years married to my amazing wife. So I will be traveling to New Mexico or somewhere in that area to celebrate, and we'll be not streaming on Friday. So we'll try and get Tech Ricky set up if he's confident and comfortable with doing it solo, maybe get him set up with a guest host. But I will be living on a desert oasis somewhere. So I wish you all the best from the Cosmic Cowboy. Goodbye. All of you are Slay Cert Plus. And until the next time, please take care of each other. Stay secure. See ya.